All right, folks, welcome to another edition here of Radio's Yard here on the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network. We have a special guest today, as we're going to be doing in the future as we get ready for nationals, even past that as well. We're going to do some hobby talk with people in the hobby, kind of like our story time features, except these are just hobby time features as well. The co-founder and CEO of Swish Breaks, Andrew Rimland, is going to join us here for a couple minutes, as you see if you're watching the video. Andrew, first off, welcome to Radio's Yard, our first hobby guest. This has got to be a big day for you.
Let's go, man. We're excited to be here and looking forward to it.
All right, Andrew, before we get started, Jersey kid, Maryland Terp, New York City guy. Before we get into any shop talk here, what are your favorite sport teams? So if I know if I'm going to like you or not going forward.
I'm a diehard New York Knicks fan. I tell you, we had a pretty good run this year. We were looking pretty good for a good amount of time, and then unfortunately, Halliburton took us to a different dimension. But diehard Knicks fan, grew up liking the Yankees as well.
Okay.
True and true hard New Yorker.
I like to hear that for one reason. The first time I met all the guys here at the yard, I had to stand up and say one thing about myself and a sports fact about myself. And I stood up and I said, I'm a South Florida native, born and raised down here, and I hate all New York sports teams. That was the first thing I threw out there. So everyone who had never met me before, I threw that out there. But as I say that to you, as you tell me about the Knicks, my brother lives with me right now, and my brother is a diehard Knicks fan, crazy. Can't sleep, won't sleep the day of, has to have the same meal on Knick game days. He's that guy and a Yankees fan. So I feel like, Andrew, it's a good start for us.
We might have to bring the brother on the pod.
Seriously, you guys are gonna have to do the New York podcast here.
I'll tell you what about the Knicks fan base. The Knicks fan base is probably the strongest fan base in the entire world. So we're looking forward to this upcoming year. I'll say, now we have Tatum down and Halliburton down. We might have a clear shot right here. So we're guns blazing into the year.
I love it. And saying this as a Heat fan, when I see it, I'll believe it at that point too. So there you go. So now me and Andrew are on the right foot here together. Okay. Tell me this. How'd you get started in the hobby? And I'm not talking about Andrew now. I'm talking about Jersey Andrew, riding his bike, getting into the hobby, sports cards as a kid. How'd that all start for you? Then we'll get into the business side of it. But how did it all start for Andrew, the child, in the card business?
For sure, man. Yeah, I mean, it dated back to like early elementary school days for me. We back in my hometown, we always collected cards growing up. We were trading, not only sports, but Pokemon as well.
Right.
Played every single sport under the sun, basketball, baseball, soccer, you name it, flag football, right? Was always, on the field in some type of way. And, what a better way to get close to the athletes that you're watching each and every day than collect their cards, right? So, the passion for sports cards and collecting started at a very young age. Never really was massive in terms of buying, selling, trading at a super young age, but was very heavy on the collecting side. So always had a passion for, top athletes that I collected. LeBron was my favorite player growing up. So it was always incredible to, have a shot at pulling a LeBron card or, even if it wasn't his rookie year, just getting some of those big guys and, hitting cards, collecting them. We had binders full of, they weren't even graded at the time, but binders full of all different players, different sports, different cards, and we'd hang out, go through them. So it was definitely the foundational knowledge, for the sports card world dated back to very young.
Yeah, no, 100%. Great answer there too, because I think that we all anyone that's in this business or around this business or even just likes this business, I think could go back to that one time, their childhood memory of a chase they were on or something. For you, that was LeBron, I'm guessing. If it wasn't Pokemon, it was LeBron early, because that was my next question. What was the big chase for you as a child? I'll tell you what, mine was early too, and you'll love this. Ken Griffey Jr. and Frank Thomas. Yep. Rookie cards growing up. I'm a little bit older than the rest of the guys here in the building, but those were the chase for us. Upper Deck Ken Griffey, the Frank Thomas card, those were huge for us. LeBron for you, Pokemon for you. That's a good answer to that question too.
I mean, LeBron, I would say like Derek Jeter too. Like Derek Jeter for me playing baseball, Derek Jeter cards were like the holy grails. It didn't matter what type of card it was. It could have been, a $3 base Derek Jeter, but Derek Jeter and collecting some, early Topps Derek Jeter cards, like those were, tried and true, some of the favorites growing up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you could just tell when you're talking to somebody, they're passionate about sports, and sports cards also kind of goes together sometimes with that as well. All right, so tell me about Swish Breaks. How did this all start for you? What was the kind of plan behind it? Because obviously now you're big. You're one of the biggest companies in the country for sure, one of the bigger name brands. But how did it all start? Where did it all come from? What was the idea like in the beginning? I love to hear these kind of stories too.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's We actually have a pretty unique starting story. So I was back down in school. My first business that I ever started. I mean, I'll kick it back one more notch. When I was in high school, middle school and high school, I was very big in the secondary market of buying, selling, trading sneakers.
Mm,
And it was the simple foundational concept of like supply and demand, right? Understanding that at a very early age, and ultimately became one of the biggest traders in the sneaker market back when I was 13, 14 years old. The manufacturers continue to re-retro and produce a large supply of these sneakers, week over week, month over month, re-retroing shoes, and ultimately it priced out a lot of the resellers and wholesalers in the market. Elected to go undergrad to the University of Maryland, studying finance and entrepreneurship there. I knew I never really actually wanted to take a corporate job, and I
right.
ended up starting my first company out of school. We were in the events and hospitality business. I ended up founding a company called Ace Hospitality Group. We were the largest collegiate nightlife event group on the East Coast, doing events in
Wow.
DC, Miami, New Jersey, the Hamptons, Michigan, you name it. We were traveling, buying talent and going out to different events. And I thought I was on my way to be the next Tao Group, Tepperberg, Dave
Right.
Grutman of the world, and loved the nightlife and hospitality space. And then, bam, COVID hit, and we were like, "Shit, what's next?"
Right.
So again, always collected cards, played sports growing up. Saw the hobby really taking off as people kind of had that nostalgia factor and got back into their hobby. So my brother and I were home during COVID. My brother was actually watching breaks, buying into breaks back in the YouTube days, and a good buddy of both ours and Nick's, Jared Blesnick. We were watching Blez live
Right.
on YouTube, and my brother was buying into breaks. I'm like, shit, like this is dope. And then we were watching it for a little bit, like COVID was going on, not much else was happening. And I said to my brother, I'm like, why don't you do this, right? Like, why don't we do this? And he was at NYU at the time. I was at Maryland, so obviously we weren't together. But when I went back to school, my brother went to school, we both ended up starting to break on Instagram under two separate names, under two separate brands. Myself and my roommate at the time down in school, we drove to Tennessee, picked up our first product order ever. We took a bunch of the money from Nightlife. I think it was probably $70,000 at the time. And we sold through our first product order in the first 30 days on Instagram Live.
Wow.
And that was like when we were like, shit, we're onto something. My
Right.
brother was simultaneously building Swish at the same time up here out of New York. I graduated from school in 3 years and ended up moving back to Jersey. My brother was back in Jersey at the time also. And we were like, all right, we're going to go full force at this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So started streaming out of my parents' basement 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, eating, sleeping, breaking cards, and that was it. There was nothing else to it for a period of a few months. My two best friends ended up moving in with us out of Jersey. Then we were running literally 29 hours a day. You name it, we were just going nonstop to ultimately where we're at now. Moved our offices to the city in 2022. Got a team of about 85 people now. We do about anywhere from 70 to 80,000 orders a month. Have 8 live shopping channels across Whatnot and Fanatics Live. And we're super excited about the growth of the industry and the future of the hobby.
I was just about to say, I mean, from someone who basically started like you did and like a bunch of other guys did in the beginning of, or while COVID was happening to where we are now. What a difference! What a difference,
For sure.
and how crazy this business has gotten. Because, like I said to you beforehand, I knew about the business, but not much about it. When I jumped into it now, just in the last 5 or 6 months, I can't believe where it's actually gone in the last 5 or 6 months. I can't even begin to think about how you could see it from where it was, 4 or 5 years ago to where it is now and where it could go from here. That 4 or 5 year span since you started to now, how incredible has the growth been for the hobby, the business, for everything right now, especially from someone who's got, like you said, from the parents' basement to now in New York City. That's a
For
heck of a
sure.
jump for you also.
Yeah, no, man, it's been incredible. Truth be told, I was actually speaking on a panel discussing this the other day. We, when you look at the foundation of the hobby, like the post-COVID era,
Right.
you saw a massive spike in all asset prices, whether it was stocks, crypto, sports cards, NFTs, you name it. Everything boomed, right?
Right.
But what ultimately happened in the sports card world, which is really cool, is prices fell back down to earth, which is normal. Uh, but what most people didn't see was like when you look at the demand curve, the amount of new entrants and new people in the space just went 10x, and
Right.
it happened pretty quickly. And when you look at some of the things that Fanatics and some of the other big players are doing in the space, uh, the amount of people that are joining the hobby each and every single day is growing exponentially every single day, right? And that's what gets us most excited because I truthfully believe this. And when we've been in the space for 5-6 years, we see a lot of things in the trenches, right?
Right.
The amount of people that knew what sports cards were, sports card breaks were when we first started to today, it's a massive change, right? And I was speaking in a room. There was about 300 people in there, and I said, like, who's bought something on a live stream or bought into a sports card break? And there were some sports fans in there, and 2 people raised their hand. And that just goes to show, right? Like,
Right.
the industry is incredible. It's massive, but like, we're only getting much bigger, right? So that's something that we're all pretty excited about throughout the space.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think the growth of it is, like you said, 10x. I would say 100x by with another couple of years. Like, it's just going to be absolutely ridiculous when things like the Nationals and Fanatics Fest and all these things, and even big card shows just around the country, can get thousands and thousands of people to show up at each of these events. It's only going to get bigger and better, because even the smaller card shows now, the ones here in South Florida that we're at the little hotel convention center, are now too big for that now also. It's amazing what's happened. This growth has been really crazy, and it's been great for the hobby, good for all of us in the industry, whether you're a big dog or whether you're just starting off. It's actually really, really big. And I love the way the hobby is. I like the people in the hobby too. I think the people in the hobby are great, and I'm new to it, Andrew.
Sure.
I'm not 5 or 6 years deep into this, not 3 or 4 years deep. I'm 6 months into it, and I've gotten such a welcome and such a response from starting off here. I love the people in the hobby. I'm sure you've seen some awesome people during your time in these last 5 or 6 years, especially if you're speaking on panels now too. Obviously, they want to get some insight from you. Let me move to this. This will be a fun one for you. What's your biggest card regret? Do you have one? The worst chase you started, and then by the end of it, you're like, I can't believe we've been doing this or chasing this. Do you have a big card regret in your kind of back pocket?
Yeah, I mean, we as a company, ultimately, we were super bullish, and I know some of the backyard guys are as well. We were super bullish Trevor Lawrence. Like, when we started in the space, it was really Trevor Lawrence rookie, like that 2021 class, right?
Right.
So Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Mac Jones were kind of our, 3 guys that when we started, these were like the holy grails to hit. Every product, people were chasing these left and right. So I think inherently, because of the foundational nature of the business and the timing, we were pretty big into those 3 guys.
Right.
And ultimately, we were buying, singles, we were buying wax, we were buying, a lot of different product lines of these guys to, get some of their rarer cards, some of their higher pop cards, lower pop cards. And we ended up building a pretty big, what I would call a base of these 3 guys. And ultimately, right, like, I think Fields is, he's got the starting job this year now on the New York Jets. I'm not a big Jet guy, but, there could be some room there. I think T-Law's market, it's a great time to buy him now. If you bought him in 2020, 2021, you're in a little bit of trouble. But
right.
If you're buying him today, it's definitely a good buy for the value and the ROI potential there. But that's definitely something I think was not the most profitable investment for the group, for sure. Those 3 guys.
Let me tell you, Andrew, I'm proud of you for coming out, because you know what? You could have lied and given me a smaller little thing. I love the fact that the chase is huge for everybody. And I love to hear everyone's big cards and big card pulls. And that's going to be my next question to ask you anyway. But I like to hear the kind of where we made our first mistake or where we made our biggest mistake and then grew from that. And you're right. I've asked a couple of people that, and Trevor Lawrence has been one of those guys that have come up a couple of times. With that said, let me go to the opposite side of it. What was the biggest pull or the biggest rip you had, whether you were in the room, you were actually doing it yourself, you ran across the hall because you saw it being pulled in your office? What was one of the biggest pulls you've seen personally for you? Like I said, whether you did it yourself or you ran in the room because you saw one of your guys do it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We actually, I'm going to give two answers here.
Yes, please.
Pretty recently, out of, Flawless that just dropped one B year, we hit one of the biggest triple logo mans in the product, which was, really cool. It was the 2018 Lucas Shea tray. It was a really cool hit. And, for us, right, being a basketball based brand, our ultimate goal is just pull as many big cards as possible. And this year out of Flawless 23-24, it's not one card, but we pulled that triple logo man. We pulled the 1-of-1 Victor Wembanyama Star Swatch, which is one of Wemby's biggest cards in the product. I'd say it's, other than his logo man, it's his top non-logo man card in the product. And then we also pulled the Steph Curry Star Swatch 1-of-1 Bill Russell tribute patch. And we actually did that live at Fanatics headquarters with Grant Williams. So that was a really cool experience. And then most recently, just at Fanatics Fest this last weekend, we were doing a stream with Aiden Ross, pretty influential kick streamer.
I saw that.
We were live on the main stage.
Yep.
Crowd was going crazy. We were ripping some of the highest end NBA wax you can rip. It was 2018 Flawless NBA. To get a sealed case of this is like, finding a diamond in the rough. They're impossible to find. We ended up sourcing 2 of these cases. One of my buddies back at the table, we got the call. Ross is ready to go live. Chucks me the case. We're sprinting across the convention center with this case. We get up there on stage. We're sweating foil out, 1 of 1. Crowd is watching. Cameras rolling. Everything's rocking. And bam, we pulled the LeBron James team logo gem, 1 of 1, which, in my opinion, those are actually not in my opinion. Those are mathematically harder to hit than Logo Man. There's only 10 of them on the checklist. And to pull 1 of those in that moment with so many people watching, it was just so big for the hobby. It was big for the everybody that was involved, and it was a really cool experience to be a part of.
You couldn't have scripted that better. I saw the video. Did Aiden know at the time? Because I know the first second he pulled it, and then everyone started jumping around. It's like everyone noticed around him. I don't think he noticed at first how big of a pull he got. Like, it was incredible. That video, top notch, by the way, top notch.
Yeah, I appreciate
watching
it.
Aiden, I was like, oh my God, do you realize what you just pulled? I'd love to pull something like that. Right. That was awesome.
Yeah, to be honest with you, once we saw the logo, man, I knew exactly what it was. And I knew that the most important part of the sweat was going to be the player on the back. And just the fact that it was LeBron, it's probably one of the top, if not the best one on the entire checklist. I think it would probably be 50-50 LeBron or Kobe. So we were pretty fortunate to, do that in that moment. It was a really cool experience.
Andrew, well scripted. Well, you couldn't have scripted that any better for that time.
That's
and
it.
It was like we talk about it all the time upstairs. We're putting on a movie. You legit put on a movie that day at the most perfect time you could do it. So well done on that. I'll tell you what. Before I end it with you, I wanted to say, how crazy is it now when you go from where you came from in your parents' basement to now seeing what Fanatics Fest looks like, what Nationals is going to look like? Athletes, entertainers, so many people that want to be kind of a part of the business. That's got to be really cool for guys like you guys, for Nick. This has got to be a really cool thing to see how big it's become and how worldwide it's become, even with athletes and entertainers.
For sure. No, I mean, you hit it on the head, right? I think, we were first starting and people were like, you're ripping sports card boxes?
Right.
Like, what are you guys doing? And, like, when you have a vision and you have a belief and you have, the conviction that, okay, like, you're really going at something and you see, something 5 years, 6 years before it's coming to fruition. It's a really cool feeling, man. And to be honest with you, one of the best things about what we do, right, is, building out the industry for the hobby.
Right.
Through all the polls, through all that, the big moments, through all, the cool things that come with, building a brand and building a business. There's nothing better than watching a community just continue to grow and get stronger. And that's what's really cool about the space. And like, truth be told, right, like when we started this, very few people believed, right? Like, your closest people in your circle that were like, all right, I trust in this guy, or like, I trust in his vision, but like, do I really trust this space, or like, what's going on? Or is this a fad, or is this going to blow out? And, to be honest with you, it didn't really, I would say like it took a few years, for the, the masses to really say like, okay, like, this is actually pretty big. And, I think like when you really look at what the hobby, where the hobby is today, we just came off Fanatics Fest. It was basically the largest sports convention that I think has ever been hosted to date in the world. You had athletes, influencers, high net worth celebrities, card collectors, hobbyists, all coming together to one room, sports fans, right? So to see all of that come together and come to fruition, we're gearing up for the National in months to have big activations there. Working with some of the biggest players in the space in the sports world and in the sports card world, from taking it to a basement, to the big stages like we're at now. It's really, it's a really cool, it's a cool, I would say, it's something that you could only dream of when you're going through the process. But, like we say here every day, like we're in love with the process. We're in love with the game. What comes with it comes with it. But, just to be able to build an industry that you love day in and day out, there's no better feeling in the world.
All right, last one here, and I'll let you ride. And I really appreciate your time. It's been a really cool conversation to have today with you, Andrew. And I'll put this in strictly card breaking terms, if the floor of the hobby was in your parents' basement, where's the ceiling in 5 years of what this hobby could look like?
Man, I don't think me and you can both believe.
I know, right?
Me, right? Like I truthfully, there is unlimited potential for this space. With some of the biggest players in the sports world that are coming into this market, not only with massive businesses and brands, but with true determination to make this space, the next big thing for all sports fans.
Right.
I see the hobby going mainstream. We're seeing it happen right now. I think the percentage of sports fans that continue to get into sports cards is going to grow exponentially over the next 5 years. And, I don't have the exact data point or number
Right.
in terms of how many sports fans there are in the world. But all I got to say is watch out because it's coming. And we're stoked to be at the forefront of it and continue to lead in the community and build out, man. We're super excited for it.
Andrew, this has been awesome. Love talking to you. Love talking hobby with people. Love talking shop, and the fact that we could talk some sports in the middle of it. Of course, that's my bread and butter. But this has been really cool today. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on Radio's Yard to talk about the hobby, your place, the whole deal. It's been really cool today, Andrew. Thank you.
For sure, Krantz. Thank you as well. And we're looking forward to continuing to grow together, man. So God bless and thank you guys.
Absolutely. That's Andrew Rimland, the CEO and co-founder of Swish Breaks, joining us here on a special edition of Radio's Yard, live here on the Live on a Dollar podcast network.
Let's go, Knicks.